give you an example of my own personal story with the BUSIN glide. So as you can see on the left, the original BUSIN glide had sort of a biflanged wing platform to hold the graft on, into which the graft loaded into this elliptical zone and was pulled, as you can see on the right, through into the cornea. However, there were some challenges I encountered early on with the procedure. Now, as the BUSIN glide improved, you can see the first iteration of it over here. You can see that there was actually a slightly smaller, actually elliptical zone, which allowed for slightly smaller incisions. This one is actually one of the original ones, requiring a 5.5 millimeter incision. However, as they advanced, you see that there is actually a smaller elliptical zone allowing to be implanted through a smaller incision, in this case a 3.5 millimeter incision. There was also a larger flange that was incorporated to allow for more easily graft loading. Now, along with the BUSIN glide comes a BUSIN forceps. And as you can see, the first iteration here is different from the second one, but to really appreciate the difference, we have to look up close. You can see the graspers on the first forceps were very short, knobby, and really didn't open very wide as opposed to the second forceps. As you can see here, when I show one of my surgical cases, on the left is actually the closed forceps. On the bottom is the original BUSIN 1. And I had a very difficult challenge getting that to open up adequately and actually grasp the graft. As you can see on the right, when it opens up, it actually did not extend as far out as the instrument above it, which is the BUSIN 2 forceps. So I had a lot of difficulty in grasping that forceps, in grasping the graft. Otherwise, I was able to perform the surgery much more easily than when I had originally started, which was with graft folding and insertion with a forceps. Now, before this BUSIN 2 came out, I was stuck and I didn't know what to do. So I spoke with a colleague, and a colleague told me they had an extra instrument that they had purchased from some catalog, which they used, and it provided much better grasping ability. However, our institution could not order from that company because they didn't have a contract with them. So I had to explore on my own and find that I could modify a grease hopper retina forceps and allow it to actually grasp the tissue much more easily. In this case, I'm bending a 25 gauge Alcon grease hopper forceps and using that to actually pull through the graft. And I found the reach of that was much greater. And I only share this example because this was one critical step to allow me to perform the surgery much more easily. For quite some time, I was contemplating going back to the original folding technique. So this is an example in my own personal case, but many of us have much further examples where we've taken this step much further and actually designed instruments and worked with companies to produce stuff that can actually benefit the mass public. And I think the rest of this talk will provide some key examples of that. But I wanted to leave you with this message that even at anyone's level, one can always come up with ideas that can help themselves individually, even if they may not necessarily apply to others, because all of our situations are unique in terms of what instruments we can obtain where we operate at. So with that, I'll turn the conversation over. I'll just give a quick summary here. The right instruments can help lead a surgeon to success. So in this case, the instruments make the surgeon. And without the right instruments, surgeons must learn to adapt their technique or change their instruments. So in this case, the surgeons make the instruments. And finally, as I mentioned, find the instruments that enable your favorite techniques to succeed, or find the techniques that enable you to maximize the application of your instruments. So now I'll turn it back to Dr. Nidhi for the next talk. Thank you.